Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining me once again. It's Wednesday, October 16th, 2024. I'm your host, Sean Tomlin. This is Upon Further Review with yours truly. We had a great week of action. We got a great show for you tonight. Can't wait to get into it. Well, why wait? Let's just go for it. Week 6 recap of all the action that happened around. We'll start off on Thursday Night Football. We had the 49ers beating the Seahawks 36-24. This was a big game for the 49ers getting that win. They've had a lot of injury troubles, especially with CMC being out. Another little note was we finally had good back-to-back Thursday night football games. This game and the Falcons game last week, both great games. Samuel, Kittle, and Purdy all had huge nights for the 49ers. It was really great to see. Unfortunately, I think I saw Jordan Mason go down, so he's dealing with a little bit of an injury, but it's good to see that they have a plethora of depth on their running back chart because, again, they had another running back come in and he easily went over 100 yards. Then we'll get into our Sunday action. We'll start it off with the Colts beating the Titans 20-17. Pittman was actually active all week long. They were talking about him not playing, possibly going on IR with a back injury, but he was able to go. Richardson was out still, but he's looking to come back this upcoming week. Taylor, of course, he's still out dealing with that ankle injury. Yet to see if he's going to be coming back this upcoming week, but we'll find out, I guess, before game time. Kenny Moore, the second, got a lot of good publicity helping out with that massive hurricane down in the south there. He was helping with relief and support, so good to see him doing that. Another little note about the Titans game is Tony Pollard just DeMarco Murray 2.0. Like, he left the same team, was a Pro Bowl on, and went to the exact same team that DeMarco Murray went to. And when they went there, they really haven't been doing anything. Like, I guess Tony Pollard has had a game or two maybe where he's not been too bad, but as a whole, I think DeMarco Murray did the same thing when he went there and then fizzled out. And we all saw what happened to him. Tajay Spears left with a hamstring injury during the game. So we'll find out hopefully later this week if he's able to keep going or if he's going to be held out for a little bit. And then, of course, there'll be another running back. Well, obviously, Pollard would get more touches, whatever that means, because, well, DeMarco Murray 2.0. The Jags lost to the Bears over in London. We had another London game over across the pond. They lost 35-16. They just got whooped. Atney left with a hamstring injury. Allen had 2 TDs. Williams had 4. Swift had a TD. Kmet had 2 TDs. And their defense was just looking awesome. What a great game that was. Just it was nice to see Caleb Williams and the Bears actually really putting a slam to like a team that's just well below them, which the Jaguars are. Next, we had the Ravens beat the Commanders. This was an absolute banger of a game. Just loved it. They ended up beating the Commanders 30-23. And Scary Terry and King Henry decided, you know what, let's just go trick-or-treating early this year. As they just collected the points and just put up one heck of a game. I think I saw like it was a 50-yard touchdown pass to little Scary Terry there. That was pretty sweet. Robinson Jr. went out with some kind of a knee injury. So his status, check on him. Packers ended up beating the Cards 34-16, and Marvin Harrison Jr. went out in that game with, I believe it was a concussion injury. So we'll see what happens with him if he's able to clear protocol and come back for next week or this upcoming week. But obviously the Packers beat the Cards because it's the Cards, and the Cards they're up and down. They are a pretty bad team, but they have flashes of brilliance. The Texans beat the Pats 41-21. Woo! Love seeing those Patriots lose. And Mixon was mixing it up with Dell and Stroud having great games. It was an awesome game to watch. Drake May He may have lost big, but he actually didn't look that bad in the game. But seeing the Texans able to just destroy the Pats was just happy for me. Although it was kind of bittersweet because the Texans are in my Colts division, and I just can't have people in my division winning. But it's kind of hard to bet against C.J. Stroud and all the weapons that he's got there in Texas. Well, the next game we had was the Bucks beating the Saints 51-27. Carr being out, basically saw that one coming. But you know what? The head coach decided to give the keys to the offense to Rattler. And he didn't look bad. He didn't look great. But he was hampered, obviously, by Olave going out with a concussion in the game. I think he threw the ball like 8 or 9 times to Shaheed. He was only able to pull in one of those. But Shaheed was able to get on the board with a 45-yard punt return. So he was doing it on the ground instead of through the air. Also in that game, the Bucks defense, obviously, they had a great game. Offense put up a lot of points, but Winfield had a 50-yard fumble recovery that he took for a touchdown. It was quite the interesting play to see two non-offensive touchdowns in one game that were quite huge, quite big plays. So that was really good to see. Eagles ended up beating the Browns 20-16, and obviously Jerome Ford left with an injury. Still up in the air when Nick Chubb's going to be coming back. So that's one to monitor if you have one of those guys in fantasy. But yeah, Ford's out, and Goddard also left with a hamstring injury. And then Sirianni getting all jacked up at the end, yelling at some fans or something like that. I didn't exactly see it all, so I can't quite say too much on it. But like, man, calm down. You don't need to be yelling at the fans. Focus on the team. Like, come on now. And they're even your own fans. Like, I know Philly has horrible fans, but come on now. Have some control there, bud. Well, a lackluster game that I don't got really any notes on. Chargers beat the Broncos 23-16. Coach Harbaugh had some kind of a heart issue. Had to leave the field, ended up coming back. Or he had some kind of sickness. He had to leave. And then he came back. It's really the only note that I have on that one besides that. Then we had the Steelers beating the Las Vegas Raiders. O'Connell, he just doesn't look to be the answer. And obviously they don't think Minshew's the answer, so who knows what's going to happen with that. And then we have other news on them getting rid of Devontae Adams, so now they really don't have anybody to throw to. Not that he was actually playing. He was out with a hamstring injury that apparently now is gone. The Falcons beat the Panthers 38-20. Well, it's the Panthers, so saw that one coming. Another lackluster game was the Sunday night football game. The Bengals beat the Giants 17-7. Bengals finally won a game, but it was against the Giants, so is that really a win? Well, then on Monday night, we had kind of an exciting matchup. The Bills versus the Jets. I thought that was a pretty good game. Ended up in a field goal with the Bills winning. Jets looked all right, but now that they've got Devontae Adams, it might be a different story this upcoming week. We'll just kind of see. Rodgers was able to do another one of his famous Hail Marys right at the end of the second half. I think it was like 51 yards, and he got the touchdown, so Alan Lazard got that, and I was pretty happy about that guy. Well, that's all the action in Week 6. But I'm going to go on to our Week 7, my Week 7 picks for this upcoming week. I was 13-1 last week. You should have made a bet because those are some pretty good numbers. 30-14 overall since I've started picking. So we're going to get into that right now. This Thursday night, we've got the Broncos going up against the Saints. I'm going to take the Broncos in that one. I just don't see the Saints being able to come out and beat the Broncos. Even though the Broncos aren't that great, they have had quite a stellar defense all year long. They've been holding good teams to low points. So I've got to take the Broncos on that one. Sunday, we got the Colts, and I'm messing it up. The Colts versus the Dolphins, and the Dolphins don't have Tua. Tyreek's not really going to do anything. Go Colts. I'm picking them. Then we got the Seahawks and the Falcons. Well, in that one, I'm going to go the Falcons. The Texans, they're going to go up against the Packers, taking the Texans in that one. Raiders versus the Rams. Well, even though the Raiders haven't looked great this year, the Rams have looked even worse. So in this one, I am going to go Raiders in this one. They're not a horrible team, so I don't see them losing every single game like I expect to see from the Panthers, although they brought out that one miraculous win. The Pats are going up against the Jags in London, so taking the Jags on that one, because I hate the Pats. Although the Pats, gonna go the Jags on that one because Trevor Lawrence is something like 1-4 in London games, so he's got to get one. He's got to get another one soon. You would hope at least. Then we have the Bills versus the Titans versus the Bills. And that one, I'm going to take the Bills going up against the Titans. One, Titans are in my division. Two, I think the Bills are a better team. Then we have the Lions versus the Vikings. I'm going to take the Vikings in that one. Commanders, Panthers. Obviously, Panthers are going to lose. Commanders are a way better fucking team. Then we have the Bengals versus the Browns. I'm going to take the Bengals in that one because the Browns also look like they are being as much of a dumpster fire as they have been over the past little while. Eagles versus the Saints. Going to take the Eagles in that one. Chiefs are going to go up against the 49ers. So that's a tough one. But I think the Chiefs are going to pull that one out. The refs always help them, so more than likely it's going to be the Chiefs. Had to pull out that little card there once in a while. Sunday Night Football. We got the Jets versus the Steelers. I think the Jets, with their new acquisition, are going to do pretty good this weekend, so I'm going Jets in that one. Monday Night Football, we're going to have a double header. Ravens versus the Bucs. I'm going to go Ravens in that one because the Ravens have been awesome. And Chargers versus Cards. I'm going Chargers because it's not like the Chargers have looked any better, but the Cards are pretty bad. All right, we'll move on to my top threes at quarterbacks, running backs, wide receiver, tight ends, and defenses for the week. Or not my picks. Who were the top three at each position for this week? So a quarterback, we had Jordan Love with 37 plus points, Baker Mayfield with 37 plus, and Caleb Williams with 35 plus. So really good for all those teams. All those games actually were pretty competitive, pretty good to watch. Running backs, we had Tucker filling in at the Bucs backfield. He had 35 plus points. Joe Mixon bringing it back with 28 plus points. Haven't seen anything from him in a while. And Henry with 26 plus points. At wide receivers, Chris Godwin showed up, 37 plus points. Garrett Wilson did too with 25 plus. And even Alan Lazard came in with 25 plus. God, what a great guy. Tight ends, we had Cole Kmet leading with 24 points. Kittle right behind him, great guy there, 22 plus. And Evan Ingram coming back into relevancy with 18 plus. For the defenses, the Bucs defense obviously led the way with 47 plus points. They had a great game over the Saints there. Lions had 37 plus when they stopped the Cowboys. And then we had the Texans with 31 plus. So really good at all the positions there. If you had any of those guys, you'll be thanking your lucky stars. I'm going to move on to my top 5 waiver wire pickups. I'm going to say you're going to want, even though I have kind of been bashing the Chargers a little bit, you're going to want to pick up Justin Herbert off the wire if he's available for you. I think he's going to have a great game against that Cards' crappy defense. Drake May, even though he's going up against the Jags and they're in London and he's a rookie, I think he's going to put up good numbers against those Jags. Even though I've got the Jags winning that game, I think Drake May is going to have a great game. And they might pull it out. It might be one of those close ones with, like, by 3 points or something. So, Ty Chandler with Aaron Jones dealing with a possible injury that's been keeping him week to week. He might be somebody you want to pick up. Stash him if you can. Because if anything happens to Aaron Jones, trust me, he's going to get a lot of work. Lad McConkey, he was doing great. You can connect him up with Herbert if you're able to get those guys. And Russell Wilson, apparently he's going to be starting for the Steelers this weekend. I kind of got a feeling that he's going to have a good game. It is Russell Wilson, and he hasn't been relevant for who knows how long. But he might just end up doing it. And maybe Seattle's, or not Seattle, that's where he was before. The Steelers are the answer for him because obviously it didn't work in Denver. But not a lot of things work in Denver. I'm going to say my 5 top starts for the week next. Lamar Jackson, he's going up against a pretty easy little team right now. Well, not so much. They allow a lot of points, but on the same time, the offense has been putting up really good numbers. So, Lamar Jackson up against the Bucs. I'm going to say you want to get him and Henry into your lineup if you can. If you can get Justin Jefferson into your lineup, I'm going to say him going up against the Lions. Not that the Lions are a bad defense, but they just lost Hutchinson. They haven't been the greatest stopping the pass. So, and obviously it's Justin Jefferson. And if Sam Darnold's doing what Sam Darnold's been doing, you're going to want to have that guy in your lineup for sure. And on the other side of the ball, St. Brown. Same thing. Vikings defense has been a little porous against passing, so he's going to be somebody you're going to want to keep into your lineup. And George Kittle going up against the 49ers defense, which has been super porous, although they've been able to get it done. Even though I have the Chiefs winning in that game, I see the 49ers having a pretty good game. And you know what? They might end up pulling that one out as well. That could be like a 3-point game either way as well. All right. We're going to move into some action from our fantasy league this next little part here. Our Week 6 Fantasy League recap. We had the Monty Lake Colts beating G-Spot, Graham's team. Obviously, Monty Lake Colts team is mine. I ended up beating Graham 140-45 to 124-10. And that was the most points I've scored all year, so I was pretty goddamn stoked about that. I was led by Harris with 21 plus points and Kittle 22 plus. Graham, your team was led by Derrick Henry with 26 plus and Geno Smith with 16 plus. I had to look this one up. This was our 5th matchup all time. We were tied 2-2. Now I'm taking a slight lead. I'm in 3-2 now. So that feels pretty good. It was a tight matchup at the halfway point, Graham. You led by 7 points at the halfway, but I was able to come back in that second half and end up taking that matchup. Move on to our next matchup. We had Golf is Better, Caden's team, beating Protect Your Holes, Ty's team, our defending champion. Caden ended up beating him 127-50 to 111-60. Caden, your team was led by the Seahawks defense with 26 plus, and Zay Flowers was 23 plus points. Ty, your team was led by the Texans defense with 31 plus points, and Montgomery with 21 points. Caden had a big lead at half, and he really just never looked back in that matchup. Although Caden did leave huge points on the bench with Brock Purdy, I think he had like 33 points. It didn't hurt Ty by him not having him in the lineup. What did hurt Ty was losing Olave and Harrison. Those are bad injuries, but I think they're going to be able to come back from them soon. They didn't look horrible. I think your team is going to be just fine going down the stretch with that. That definitely was a tough one to take, especially with you being at 1-5 now. That's not a place you want to be. Not a place you want to be. Ask Nathan about that. He was there last year. And speaking of Nate, Nate, we got you in the next matchup. Your team, Billy Bob Jr., beat Dan's team, Pass the Dutch. You beat them 150-35 to 118-45. Nathan, you were led by the San Francisco defense with 23 plus points, and Brees Hall with 22 plus points. He had a pretty good game that night. Dan, you were led by Robinson with 25 plus points, and Daniels with 24 plus points. So you had two good guys there, although Robinson, I think, is now dealing with an injury, so that's something to look out for. Dan, you were leading at halftime by a very slim margin, 2 points. And you went on to lose by more than 30, which is horrible. Not the way you want your week to go. A week 3 trade for Williamson was great for Nate, though. He was able to help out. Didn't top or wasn't in the players that led his team, but he was definitely in the mix there. Then we had the Mark Davis Bullcut, Simon's team, beating Andy Reid Anal-Bead, Lawson's team. 169 to 161, the closest matchup of the week. Simon, you were led by Baker Mayfield with 37 plus points and Garrett Wilson with 23 plus points. That was pretty good. Lawson, you were led by Godwin with 37 plus points and Jalen Hurts 28 plus points. It was a hard loss. It's hard when you get over 160 points and you still lose the match. You were leading at the halfway point. You were up huge. You were up by like 60 points. But ended up losing by just under 9. And why did you lose? Well, Simon had an injury to James Cook. He was traveling, was able to get Wi-Fi, and with like 10 minutes to go before kickoff, he was able to get Ray Davis, throw him into his lineup, and thank God he did. That guy had a great game, over 152 yards. And it was the only matchup in the week that came down to Monday Night Football. Everything else, all the other matchups in the league were all decided well before Monday. Next, our last matchup of the weekend was the GB Packers, Shane's team, beating Tropic Thunder, Les's team. 182-80 to 153. Big win for Shane. He was led by the Bucs defense, 47 plus points. Pretty much anybody that had a buck had a pretty good matchup, put up some good points. You were also led by Jordan Love with 37 plus. Last year team was led by CJ Stroud with 23 plus, and Cole Kmet 24 plus. Good thing you got him. He's going to be a good pickup for you. At half, Les was down a lot and finished being down by more. Shane Lee left 21 points on the bench from Allen, but maybe that's going to be somebody that he throws back into the mix next week. We'll just see. And who's he going to be going up against? Me, of course he is. So don't worry, Shane. Get Mr. Allen into the lineup against me, and maybe he'll do some good things for you again this week. Next week, besides that, our week 7 matchups is me versus Shane. We're both at 3-3. Then we've got Ty versus Dan. Ty's sitting at 1-5, or like I said, our last year's champion. So he's going to be looking to get a W on the board there. Dan's at 3-3. He's going to look to put another L onto Ty's card there. Nate with the turnaround season, he's sitting at 5-1. He's going to be going up against Simon at 3-3. Then we've got Lawson, you're at 3-3, and you're going to be going up against Graham, 3-3, year 1's champion. So that's going to be a good one right there. Then we've got Les, you're at 1-5, and you're going to be going up against Caden, who's at 5-1. That's tough. You never want to have to go up against somebody that's sitting that far up at the standings when you're sitting at the bottom. But you know what? Maybe you're going to make him 5-2. Maybe he's going to make you 1-6. We're going to find out this weekend, though. I'll tell you what. All right. So we're going to get into my final thoughts in our goal-to-goal segment. Goal-to-go segment. I'm going to go over a couple of little things that I found really interesting this weekend and a couple things that I heard after the weekend that just needed to be said. Like I said earlier, Devontae Adams was traded to the Jets. That's a pretty big one. A lot of people are saying, Devontae Adams isn't that good. He's washed. I don't think so. I think that's more of just the fact of Raiders wide receivers. If you go to the Raiders and you're a wide receiver and you're any good, you're probably not going to do any good there. They don't do good at all when they pick up a free agent wide receiver. They just those wide receivers just never do good. It's somebody that they have to have in their system that they bring up that seems to do good. It's just what happens. Another big trade was Amari Cooper got traded to the Bills from the Browns. And the Browns, although they keep saying like, oh, we've got all this confidence in Deshaun Watson and, he's going to pull it around. Why are you throwing away his best wide receiver then? If you're so invested in Mr. Cooper, maybe you should have, or Mr. Watson, maybe you should have kept Cooper. But no. Let's just trade him away. I've got a feeling there's more to it because this is like his third team in like 5 years. So, it's 6 years, third team in 6 years. Either way, I don't think this guy's very good in the locker room. He's got to be some kind of an asshole. He's got that asshole face to him. So I totally could see him being an ass and just being like somebody that you do not want to fucking even talk to after a game. Just like you could be like, oh yeah, hey man, how's it going? And be like, go fuck yourself. I don't want to talk to you. Another one was Aiden Hutchinson. He had a horrible leg injury this weekend. They only showed it once live because it was that brutal. His teammate ran into him. Oh man, I think he's gonna be able to come back from it. I don't think it's anywhere near like it's definitely a season-ending injury, but it's not going to be like a career-ending injury or something like that. That man's beast. He's going to be back. And of course, Ty, you had Harrison and Olave go out. Well, yeah, that sucks. But calling your season over again? We've seen this song and dance before, my friend. I believe it was sometime around this time last year. Like, my season's done. Then you ended up beating me in the championship. So this time, Ty, no dice. I do not believe you. I don't think anybody else does. Here's one. Will Crosby or Garrett be dealt? There's been a lot of talk about the Browns possibly cutting a bunch of people down, doing some kind of a little bit of a retool, not a rebuild. Bringing some more talent for him, although they're getting rid of talent. Maybe creating more cap space so they can bring in younger guys. Who knows? But there is the possibility of Garrett leaving now. And with the fact of Hutchinson going out, the Lions are going to be actively looking for somebody to fill that void. And then whoever you get, now you're going to have Hutchinson and said player. So that Lions defense is going to look pretty scary going forward if they're able to get Garrett. And then there's also Max Crosby from the Raiders. He has said multiple times that, I'm a Raider for life. I believe you got a Raider tattoo. But you never really know. If some team's willing to put up that amount to get him. Some people are saying 3 first rounds. Some people are saying 2 first rounds. Personally, I think to get him out of there, it would be for sure a first round next year at next year's draft. And then I would say the next one after that would be another first round pick, but it'd be a conditional first round pick where Crosby would have to achieve certain goals for it to go up to a first round. If he made the Super Bowl or he had a certain amount of sacks or something like that. An incentive-based pick where he meets these standards, you give him a first-round pick that year, but you're actually giving him a second-round pick because you never know if he's actually going to do good. And if he does good, you're like, I want more. So I could see that being the way they would do 2 first rounds for him. But I see 3 as being a little bit far-fetched. I don't see that happening. Jags obviously 1-4 in London. I picked them to win this weekend. I don't have a lot of confidence in that pick because it's the Jags. And Trevor Lawrence, you gave him all this money, and look what he did with it. Nothing. So, but they would have had to see something in him to give him that amount of money. That's what makes it so hard. So, hopefully he can end up picking up another win in London, or a win. Get a win in London and be able to turn his season around. But, only time will tell. We'll just have to see what happens with him. Well, that's all we have for tonight. If you liked the episode, like and subscribe. If I get 50 subscribers, I'm going to be doing a live episode from Vegas. If not, still going to be doing an episode from Vegas. So that'll be November 21st. It'll be on a special night. It'll be on a Thursday night. So just book that one in your calendar. Thanks for joining me tonight. I can't wait to be back here next week, breaking down everything you need to know. See you next week.